Hello, gang. Welcome to Sketching with Izzy. Hey, yo. How's it going, Pi? Welcome, all. Hopefully, you can hear me. Quick sound check. Hi, Irina. Hearing well? Sounds okay? Music's not too loud? The Mage. How's it? Dylan. Welcome. Thanks at last for joining us. Glad you're here. I'm good. I'm real good. Been working on some freelance stuff and spending some time with Bloodflower here, which is super great. Thanks for the follow, Lauren. But yeah, things are good. Sun's out. It's nice in Oregon right now, despite all the crazy shit going on in this country. Um, I'm super worried about the folks down south. We got a hurricane rolling in, just smashing everything up. It's pretty crazy. I've not been in any hurricanes out on the boat, but I've been in some pretty heavy storms. I mean, nothing like probably the worst storm I was in was like it had peak gusts of like 65, 70 miles an hour. And I was outside trying to tie my boat up to the dock. I was just in my underwear, and the rain was coming like fully sideways, and it hit like I can't even describe it. I couldn't turn my face to the wind because the rain and all of the water that was being blown up from the surface of the sea right there. It hit like rocks. It really hurt, and that was like 70 miles an hour. That's not that bad. I mean, what we're talking about with the Cat 4 is like 150, something like that. Jesus, that's double terrifying. So I hope everybody got out of there and everybody's safe. It's real scary. Yeah, they say, and I did do this, thankfully. They say when you're out in the storm on your boat and you need to do some work, you know, like tie something up or cut. I actually ran out to, I had my knife in my teeth. I had to cut the lines off of I had this sort of sunshade that was draped over the mast and the boom. And it was just designed to keep the sun off. It wasn't designed to deal with wind. So I had to run out there and cut the lines off of that thing so that it wouldn't flip the boat. Yeah, it was crazy. But they say, you know, for cruisers to wear your scuba mask so that you don't lose an eye from the rain, because it's going pretty damn fast. Went ahead and got a fine art degree, but somehow ended up becoming a programmer. Hey, well, welcome. This is the place to do it. Yes, there is always crazy stuff happening in the States, Demage. It's 2020. I have a feeling 2021 is not going to be much better. That's just some prognostication for you. Yeah, scary stuff. And there's going to be a storm surge, which is so the wind is moving and the pressure from the wind is so hard that it actually moves a tide in front of it. So all of this water is being pushed up onto the land, and it's going to be, 16 feet or something like that, which is extremely dangerous. I mean, imagine a 16-foot deep pool that's coming at you full speed, Scary. I really hope people evacuated. I know that there's always the we've been through this before, folks, but Jesus. I don't know if y'all remembered Maria when that swept through. Man, parts of whole islands just were swept clean. It was just swept bald. All the foliage, the trees, cars, everything gone. It's fucking terrifying. When you're out there, I mean, it's interesting when you're sitting inside your house, you get this false sense of security. You really do. And it's even coming back to me. Like when you're out on a boat, you absolutely recognize how powerful this shit is. The wind, the water, it is way bigger than you can ever imagine. And when you're in a house in your square little space, you forget. I think a lot of people lost their relationship with nature when they moved into the house. It's certainly more comfortable, but goddamn, you gotta have that respect and maybe a generous touch of fear. I'm definitely scared of the wind and the rain. when it gets that majestic, shall we say. You like this cool painting, Irina? Thanks. So this is our main character. At least this is a painting of her. I'm not sure if this is going to be the final direction. I have yet to kind of figure out how I'm going to do the book breakdown. Like if it's going to be the book with the story and then just the paintings will evolve as I go through, or if it's going to be I need to lock down everything first. I'm not sure. I think the things that Stalenhag did that were really effective were he did both. Like his first books, they were just sort of like vignette scenes, and then he had this through story. And then his last one, the Electric State, actually had a through story with characters that you saw multiple times. But it was pretty rare. There's a whole lot of sort of Polaroid style shots. So I don't know. I can't get away with that. This is definitely a more cinematic kind of experience. I think it's probably I'm gonna have to show the same characters throughout. But as I said before, I'm so bad at staying on model, so it's going to evolve. It will change. I can guarantee you that. But yeah, this is Bloodflower, and this is Seven Corn. Or no, sorry, Seven Skull. He's the corn spirit that will be joining her on her little journey here of self-discovery and lots of violence. I picked up some reference finally for the Makwaweetle, and yeah, I think I had it way too fat and chonky. How are you all doing? Been keeping busy? How's work going? School's been brutal? Ah, Yeti, I know your pain. School's tough, but so worth it. Are you studying art too? Too much to learn. You've been trying to cover more topics. You still working on your 3D? I haven't opened Blender in months. I feel real bad. Yeah, art school? Awesome. Welcome to the fold. I noticed as I was zoomed in right before we started that I had some weird shapes that were really close to the surface of the figure, and I wanted to kind of break that up a little bit so it doesn't feel so attention-getty. It's minor stuff, and probably no one would even notice it unless they zoomed in, but I noticed. Unacceptable. Well, we're glad you've joined us, Yeti. Blender, yes. Ah, the narrative lighting tutorials. Oh my God, Gurney, did you get both of his books? I think we talked about that before. Those are must purchases. Irina knows, but maybe not everybody does. When I went out on my boat, those books went with me. I had only like 13 books on the boat, something like that, and I had both of James Gurney's books. What kind of work do we do in Blender? Well, I'll let Irina answer that one for you, because she's a little bit more into it than I am. I've been using it, I think, a little bit differently than most. I just use it for mapping out 3D and in complicated environments and staging. I've done it for that, but I really don't use it that heavily for the illustrative process. Um, Yama, is it Yama or Jama? Jurabayev? He does these amazing videos on how to use Blender for concept art, and I picked those up, and I was using them as my primary sort of teaching system. But one of your fellow students also does an amazing YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of the channel, but Christina has several videos now that explain her process in using Blender and prepping and going back and forth between different programs so that you can use it for more illustrative purposes. And they're really good and informative. I recommend giving her a follow. Or subscribe, is it, on YouTube? Yeah. Polycosm, thank you. It's Christina Meervold, right? Yeah, she's really great. She has a cool accent. It's fun. But be careful. You know, if you're crunched right now trying to learn stuff at school, you're paying for that. Focus on that first, and then come back to this stuff. That's the cool thing about it, is it's always there. That information. The internet is forever and ever, ever. Saying of which, I went out on my DeviantArt today for the first time in ages to post some things that I've painted here on Twitch and to sort of advertise for the channel. And I saw a lot of the paintings and some of the photos of me from when I was 20, and I was like, oh my God. Oh, what a bastard I was. I guess I still am a little bit. Oh, you're working in Maya for your class. That's cool. I never learned Maya. I did a bit of ZBrush and a bit of Blender and a little bit of, what's it called? 4 something. Cinema 4D or 3D? Something like that. I can't remember. Sometimes it goes like that. You'll be focusing on learning a sort of side or lateral skill set that you can sort of envelop back into your main skill set, and that's totally fine. In fact, I recommend it. Everybody should have hobbies and things that they enjoy doing, because it always comes back. It's never a waste of time to do something that you enjoy in terms of your artwork. That's one of the things that I worry a lot about, the mental and emotional health of those of us that are learning entirely online, or autodidacts. Is there's this very unhealthy mentality that if you're not 100% doing things that are specific to your craft, then you're wasting time and you're a loser. That's an awful way to think. That's an awful thing to teach young people that are trying to, figure something out, especially when they're doing it on their own, which is a huge challenge. I think people underestimate how difficult it can be to teach yourself something, to go and find these things out on your own. I forgot that I had a rim light on her, but I think I'm gonna have to let it go. I don't know. Let's see. Sometimes that happens. I'm not gonna let it go. I want that rim light, and I want it now. So what does that mean? It means we make another tree here. Ah ha ha ha. Learning is good. Practicing what you learn after the lesson is even better. That's super true. Think if it's sort of like you learn a new language, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. It's very true with the new skill sets you pick up. You want to make sure that you are that you're actively trying to bring those things into the fold of your pipeline. Sometimes that's easier said than done. And I have found, for me, and this may be different for you, but for me, I have gone out of my way to learn something and then to put it into my pipeline, and then discovered that it was more work than what it gave me. So I ended up cutting it. One example of this was that soup. I've mentioned this before. I tried really hard to get into doing really super hyper rendered, more hyper realistic, photorealistic painting. And I did a few paintings that you can find online in that style where, like, I'm painting whiskers and shit, and it's just not. It ended up being not right for my pipeline. It ended up being a chore for me, and I didn't enjoy it, so I ended up cutting it. And now I'm trying to unteach myself that stuff. I'm trying to get back to being loose and chunky with my work because I had more fun with it. I mean, there's reasons for this. I had more fun. It was like, I felt like the work had more charm and it had a better voice when it wasn't overly refined. I think that was one of the assets that I had at the time that I didn't appreciate. So now I'm paying for my efforts because I went too far down that road, trying to force my foot into a shoe that didn't fit. We all do that sometimes. It's okay. You can always come back. It just takes a little effort. Yeah, see that? Just mushing the values in between and then creating a little bit of rim light to overlap. It's good enough. Finish not perfect. That's our mantra. That's going to be my mantra for this whole book. So you guys are going to hear that a lot. Finish not perfect. I am just a grotesque perfectionist, and it does me no good. Izzy, do I use the mixer brusher? Izzy, do I use the mixer brush? Mixer brush. I can speak good. I do not have enough coffee in my brain yet. We're going to remedy that. I do use it. It's pretty rare, and I use it for specific stuff. I find that it tends to be too... when I'm looking for the effect that mixer brush promises, I'm usually not interested in the amount of work necessary to get there with the mixer brush. It's one of the reasons that I really like the Procreate brush system, is because you can do really nice. Honestly, the brushes are just better. You can do amazing stuff with the brushes on that. But the mixer brush, I've used it for like repeating patterns and things like that. It definitely has its value. It's great for quick texturing. You know, if you want to build clouds or trees. One of the ways I've used it most famously is for doing snakes and dragon scales. If you just capture if you capture something that's kind of patterned and has a little bit of light in it and has segmenting, if you paint it with some spacing, you automatically have snake skin. It's super fast and easy. And then you just go in and try and clean it up so it doesn't look so digital. Let's leave that for now. Oh, there was something I wanted to do. I wanted to add some brush here. Oops. Let's get... I want something that's going to give me patterning, but not be grossly digital looking. This might be too much. Wait, what is happening? Sometimes you gotta check and make sure you don't have your tool selected, or a lasso selection. It might be too digital, but let's go with it for now. Oh shit, this needs to be in front of the foot. Let's actually put that on a layer outside of everything. We'll just call this our super foreground layer. So you can do this kind of, these little patterning bits, which is totally fine in moderation. But what you want to do to make sure that it sells, so that it doesn't feel like it's a bad digital brush, is to go in and break it up or add something with a proper brush. I don't want it to feel like a golf course, right? So this is a wild jungle. One pixel lassos. Oh yeah. You get used once you know that that's a thing, you kind of run through the checklist. When pixels aren't going down, there's like 3 or 4 things that could be happening, and it just becomes instinct to check it. It's kind of annoying. The bane of my existence is the undo going back to the previous layer. I fucking hate that so much. Overlap. Make sure that when you're doing your kind of foliage details, you're overlapping the opposite. So you want darks to go over lights and lights to go over darks. But you have to be gentle with it. If you get a little too crazy, you're going to create too many contrasts in a single area. So I think I've already done that. This is too much visual noise down here in the front. So I'm gonna kill some of it. I'll leave that one and get rid of this one. It's too even. Looks like sheep have been through here. Sheep are weird. Excuse me. Now, because this is sort of a shadowy area, but it's also not in front of something that's really lit, I'm in trouble. I don't know how I'm going to handle this. It's not a perfect solution, but that's our motto. Alright, let's get back to the girl and finish this damn thing up. Yeah. Control D. Oops. See what I did? Just put it on the wrong layer. Very sneaky. That's always a risk when you're on the last stage. So sometimes, especially when I'm in a hurry and I'm really like painting in a rush, I just ignore doing things properly. One of the things that drives Thug nuts. My unlabeled layers. What is the source of the red light on her forearm? That is bounced light. It is probably too strong, but we'll leave it for now and deal with it later. That's one of those. If the lighting information is there in terms of light path, the ray trace, then really it's something that I can solve later with a little bit of a multiply layer or something like that. It's not a big deal right now. I'll go back and unify everything at the end. Shit, that reference was on the last one. That'll do. These loincloths are awesome. One of the many things that needs finishing. Ah, shit. There it is, right there. Undo. Love it. Just the best. I like how it always just instantly kills whatever my thought was. Oh. Hopefully you all are painting too. I think we're going to do the same thing. I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but loincloths have a pretty specific pattern in how they cover the flesh, and I was being too conservative with the cheesecake, I guess. It's not much cheesecake, but I think also this is revealing that that leg is just insanely too long. Either the legs are too long or her head is too small. One or the other. Maybe both. The minute-to-minute stuff isn't that fun, is it? Do you have any thoughts or video already recorded on hardware for getting in digital art? Is it worth a cheap Wacom or just jumping onto one of the Cintiqs? Well, I do not like Cintiqs at all. I do not use them. I think they're overpriced and do not satisfy everything necessary. They are for people that can't make that transition between sort of looking at your drawing as you're drawing and then looking somewhere else as you're drawing. They don't. Everything that's great about them comes at a huge cost, in my opinion. So I don't use them. I think that they're one of the biggest things that's a problem is their pricing. It's just a good, decent Intuos will do you just fine. And the great thing about it is you can just pack it into a bag. You can go anywhere. It's a great way to learn. I think, so to be fair, one of the things that I have learned throughout my career with working in art, and also especially this is when I learned it, was when I was a student, but materials do matter. You can go cheap, but in a lot of ways, when you go cheap, you're going to be paying in the long run for the struggle that you're dealing with, because the materials will not behave the way they're meant to. I'm thinking of this in particular to deal with paint and brushes, but it's also true for digital materials. Essentially, if you're going cheap, it's going to take you longer to master that thing, because you're not going to know until you have experience whether it is you not being up to par or your tools. And you're going to be fighting against that. And there's going to be this point where you hit sort of an intermediate level where that's precisely the argument you're going to be having with yourself. You'll be thinking that, shit, I'm just awful, I can't get this to work. And it'll be because the brushes don't behave. Or in the case of a Wacom, maybe the sensitivity isn't enough that you can actually manage it. That being said, the technology's come a long way. Things have gotten really cheap. So it's kind of dealer's choice on that one. If you feel like you need the Cintiq in order to see what you're working on, that's fine. A lot of people do that. In fact, it's industry standard. I'm the outlier. So take anything I say with a grain of salt. It's usually bullshit anyway. Do I have something in mind that I'd recommend in regard to slate? I think just a low level Intuos. The lowest level Intuos, small size rather than a big one, is a good start. Especially if you're not comfortable yet with working with a slate that you're not looking at. The bigger it is, the more... oh, you guys can see that, can't you? My video card is freaking out. That's not a good sign. Hopefully we don't crash. Stick with me. If it does crash, I will be back on. It'll just be a couple of minutes, just as a heads up. So check back in if you get booted. Okay. Hi, Izzy. You use your Intuos more than your Cintiq? Yeah. It's just easier. And I mean, I think about it. I think about everything in terms of travel too. Like, how does something travel? Cintiqs are heavy. Most importantly, the power supply is insane for those things. The really small ones you can just plug into a USB, I think, but I'm not 100% on that. Hi, Dan Rob, welcome. Yeah, that's the other thing that I was going to get to, but kind of spaced on, is the posture thing. The Intuos allows you to sit up straight. The Cintiq encourages you to lean and hunch over your work. And let's be honest, most of us do this for a lot longer than is recommended. And working on something where you're hunched over the thing like this and your face is 3 inches from the monitor, it's not good for your eyes, it's not good for your back, it's not good for your shoulders. And then you can also run into the same thing that happens to traditional painters. When you're working on something, and let's say you sit up and you have it in front of you, and I do see some that actually have, some artists that have proper posture when they're working on these things, and they sit up like this, like it's a big draft table. The problem is that when you're holding your arm out like this, you're doing a lot of potential damage to your shoulder and elbow, and you're gonna, like, that's how you get bursitis and shit like that. So be careful. If you get one, make sure it's one that you can lean on. That's probably the best thing, and make sure that it's up high and at an angle that you can face it without hunching over it. Yeah, even the small ones use cables. That's, yeah, very good point. You use it as second monitor? You don't paint on it? Yeah, I agree. Even using an easel. There's a reason, I think that's one of the better reasons why when you're painting traditionally with oils in particular, but any kind of brush painting on a vertical easel, you hold your tool like this and you fence. For me, that was so much better. Doing stuff like this resulted in lots of shoulder and joint discomfort over time. You do have to work out to make it through painting class. That's serious business, son. Yeah, that's a problem with Cintiq, I think. It's just expensive and it ends up not being used. But there are some people that it just doesn't bother them, or the damage is so slow. I'm very sensitive. So there's that. I am going to, let's see. I'm going to merge all of this together so that I can edit. I have a feeling this might be my problem. Ha! Yep. I had made her hips far too wide at the bottom. The insertion for the leg was off. Take a look at the difference. Yeah, so here the acetabellum for the femur is just way too far out. So if I, yeah, drawing through, let's do a quick draw through and I'll show you what I did. So I got thrown off because of the belly, basically. So the pelvis is gonna be sort of this cup-like shape, right? That tilts forward. Almost like a pair of underwear. It's small. In this case, it's going to be a little bit wider and a little bit bigger on account of female and pregnant. In fact, this bit of there's bits of cartilage here that stretch over time during pregnancy and childbirth in order to permit a watermelon-sized thing to fall out of a person, which is just sounds so painful. But yeah, so there's this nub at either end, a cup that the femur sits in. So it's about there. So you need to make sure that your femur is sitting correctly and connecting to that pelvis correctly. I think it's still a little too wide, even with that drawing I just did. But there's a little bit of anatomy for you. A foldable stand for your Intuos? Hey, could you post that in the... Demage, you're on the Discord, right? Could you post that for everybody? Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. Indeed, Dylan. Indeed. The human body is a miraculous, horrifying thing. I don't know what the hell this is, but it needs to stop immediately. Dan Romer, what are you doing? Oh, that was Far Cry 5 soundtrack. Weird. You learned more from figure drawing than biology. Same. Actually, I was really lucky. I knew a lot of the anatomy that I needed to before going to art school because my high school girlfriend was studying to be a masseuse. And here in Oregon, their standards for massage therapy is insane. It's like one of the toughest exams in the country. Or at least it was in the 90s. I don't know if it still is now. Early 2000s. But yeah, so I helped her study. And that's how I learned anatomy initially. And then all of that stuff carried over. It just got more detailed in school. But it definitely, I think when you learn anatomy from the artistic perspective, it's interesting because it totally invades your way of life. Like, you just don't see people anymore. You see musculature and fascia and skeletons and things like that. It's very amusing. I think I'm letting too much of that light come into the... It's meant to be a rim light after all. I do remember one time failing a pickup that involved something along the lines of how attractive someone's skull was. But she had a really pretty skull. She just didn't know. She didn't know how awesome it is that I could appreciate it. That's all. It's not her. It's not my fault. Yeah, don't do the skull line. So I need to... Maybe I do have reference on this one. Not really there. No. Shade. No, I don't have any. We're just gonna guess it. Absolutely a red flag. I don't blame her in the slightest. There's a reason that I do not do this show drunk. Nope. It'd be too much work to clean that up, so I'm not doing it. Once again, laziness wins the game. Can you imagine if she responded to that? Like, oh, tell me more about my skull. Not enough people yes and anymore. That would have been a hilarious conversation. Oops. So I've done something that I generally don't like to see, and it's this banding effect with the strokes. So what I want to do is I'm gonna make a new layer and see if I can kind of just break that up a little bit. And I think also kind of imply the angle of the leg as kind of going away just a tad. Hopefully you're not getting seasick watching me flip around all over the place. I apologize. It's something I think I started priding myself on very young. You know what did it was I don't know if y'all remember reading Ender's Game, right? So I read it when I was really young, and one of the things I really loved was there's a scene where the main character, Ender, gets into he's like called to do sort of squad tactics in 0G, and the big trick that he figures out that most of the other students can't, the combatants can't, is that there is no up in 0G, and you got to basically trick your brain to ignore it. I thought that was the coolest thing when I was a kid, and I ended up figuring it out. So it's been useful in a lot of really weird ways, particularly with video games, but in general, it's one of those things where I just don't get seasick that easy. Very useful when you live on the ocean, I tell you. Problematic author aside, that's an interesting book I found for me, Ender's Game, because it was different every time I read it. I don't know if you have books like that yourself, or stories or movies, but my experience with it was that, so I actually read it completely, I think 3 times through. The first time I read it, I was maybe 8 or 9. The second time I read it, I was in my mid-late teens. And the third time I read it, I was in my 20s. And each time, it was a completely different story for me. The first time, it was all about how fascinating it would be to be that kid. And to it was a power fantasy, right? Like, this kid's so smart, he's amazing. He's this tactician. Like, that was a really attractive thing to me. I thought it was super cool. And then as I got older, the next sort of take was about kind of how messed up it was. Like, okay, this kid, he was responsible for this horrible act. He basically killed an entire species. Like, it was a little bit more political and more politically aware of what was going on. And it was less about the power and the adventure and the crazy puzzles and things like that. And then the third time I read it almost from a father's perspective, and what it would be like to send your son like that to go to war, to basically break their minds. And it was horrifying the third time I read it. It's amazing how your perspective changes over time. Have I tried painting completely upside down? Really? Is that a thing on Reddit? No. I mean, I flip it according to whatever my needs, but it's not something that I actively engage in. I don't really see the point, because for me it's not novelty. It's about getting it done. And I don't think it's necessarily something that helps with your practice. I mean, I suppose it's good in that it helps you to ignore norms and focus on learning to see the mistakes. That's why like I flip mine constantly. You see me flip and rotate is to look at it from a different angle, but to paint the whole thing from a different angle, I don't really see how that helps. Do they have a reasoning for it? I'm sure they have some explanation. Evan knows if it's a good one. So I've made a cardinal sin here. I've rimlet the entirety of a surface, both top and bottom, which is big no-no according to the basic rules of light. Some of my students are screaming at me internally. They're just too nice to say anything. More for doing studies, life drawing. Yeah, I mean, essentially it's a practice for seeing things as shapes, but I mean, is your model upside down? How is that done? Or are you just doing it from an upside down image? Yeah, that's fair. Matching shapes, doing studies from something else. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. I thought they were talking about inventing a painting like I'm doing from scratch, upside down, and I was like, what? Also, welcome Daniel. Good to see you on. Right, I see. It's an important thing to figure out, is to start measuring your shapes by the shapes that you see, the positive shapes, but also the negative shapes. That's why they teach that sort of thing. Is so that you don't just see belly, but so that you see curve, and then you see this as a shape, and you maybe mentally give this a name, this negative shape, and that is on a two-dimensional surface, that is just as important as anything else, because it helps describe the entirety of the realistic forms that you're depicting. Daniel streams on evenings. Y'all should definitely give him a follow. He's great. You're doing mornings too now, aren't you? I thought I saw you a notification come on in the morning. Oh shit, now that you mentioned that damn red, it's all I see. We'll deal with it now. Just knock that down just a little bit. And maybe give a little bit to the other side. Yeah. I'm still very open to changing my time schedule. So far, I've noticed I definitely get more people watching in the evenings. But we'll see. I think it's one of those things that's just going to ever evolve. Like, a huge part of how things are working right now is so much about COVID, and lockdown and shit like that. All right, let's get back to this damn... I don't want to break the British hearts. You must lead a cavalcade of the Brits and reclaim me for your Thursdays. No, I'm sticking with what I've got for now. I don't think I have enough information to actually make any metrics-based decisions. So don't worry, it's not anything that's going to happen soon. It's just so early. And when you're first starting these things out, you want to see growth but it's a long game. It's not something that happens really fast unless you have tons of followers elsewhere, or you're famous for that specific thing. This takes time, patience. But we know about me and patience, right? And laziness. Oh, I lost that bit. What happened there? Must have painted over it and forgot what I was doing. Ouch. This right here is the thing I try to warn you guys about. Those of you that are students, is build up the entire image at the same time. I failed to do that this time, so now here I am having to go back and clean up things, and it just feels like a chore at this point. It's a slog because basically the face is done. Like, all the sexy fun stuff is done. I ate my dessert before I ate my spinach, and here I am trying to poop out a skirt real fast because I just want it to be over. I didn't even think about patterning on the skirts. I'll have to do something. A lot of the stuff that we did for God of War was just really lazy, kind of. It was the same prints that you would see on like Greek food takeout boxes. But it worked. Unfortunately, we cannot do that here, so I'm gonna have to figure something out for the decoration, because you got to think about prints. Anytime you're doing a character design, you want to think about the entirety of the character, and everything that's on a character is a storytelling, world building opportunity that's going to tell us about the rest of the world. So, like, what is that material? Everything comes with that kind of story. Like, if it's made of leather, somebody made that. How would they decorate it? Why would they decorate it? What tools do they have to decorate it with? Do they have dyes? Are they animal dyes? Are they insect-based dyes? Then what colors are available? These are all decisions that I've learned to just make on the fly as a concept artist, but they are decisions that need to be made and considered. So even though I'm not saying them out loud, I'm thinking about those things. Hey Toyin! We are painting Bloodflower from my story Bloodflower. I'm very creative with names. Sorry for mispronouncing your name before. I didn't realize. Toyin, I will make an effort to remember that. You remember one time looking for Greek motifs and textile shapes, and it all looked like exactly, exactly. That was the problem. Is like it was kind of accurate. I mean, everything. I got it. I basically have it down by rote now, where it was basically things like this, where it would be like a little spiral, like little G's, right? And then you had the things that were like this. It was just awful. And it did feel kind of cheap to me, but it really worked. So it felt right, which I guess is kind of the point, you know. There is finite source material. This is true. But in that same sense, one of the reasons I really was fixated with this particular source material is that it's still relatively unknown, and it's not widely taught. Mesoamerican history, Mesoamerican myth is completely ignored in most Western schooling. Like you basically have to go out of your way to try and learn this stuff. So I thought it would be interesting and give me a lot of opportunities to push things, which I think is what I will do. But it's going to require me to be better about my reference and be better about my resource hunting. But you're right. In general, that stuff can be very overly tapped. Research. Ah, geez, this isn't working at all. You know what we're gonna do? Let's merge this down. A new layer, clipping mask. Your next Loomis topic is muscles in depth. Oh, nice. Yeah, Loomis is awesome. You know who I also really liked for anatomy was, oh God, not Bridgman. He was a contemporary. Daniel, you might remember he did teach at Art Center, and he did Dynamic Anatomy, the Dynamic Anatomy series, and I'm forgetting the guy's name suddenly. But it starts with a B too? No, Ray Bustos is awesome. No, this guy used to teach. He was like, old school. He did the Dynamic Anatomy series. Hogarth. Yeah, Byrne Hogarth. You're right. Thanks, Toyin. Byrne Hogarth did a really good, I think it's Byrne, Byrne. But maybe it's you. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've looked at the books. But that's where I first was looking at it for drawing, and I remember I checked him out from the library a lot. But the way he did anatomy was very much kind of like Peter Hahn's dynamic sketching, where it was about constructing the shapes and thinking about those shapes and compound shapes. And it was so much more informative in terms of thinking about the three-dimensional mass of those things, which I think some of the other artists didn't really focus on. They taught how these things insert, where their origins are, they taught all this other stuff, but that three-dimensionality, and I mean, Ray Bustos, I believe he actually learned from Byrne, I don't remember, but he taught that really well too. So that I would say make sure you're finding to. Yeah, I didn't like the style either, actually, but it was the construction that I thought was really valid. And that was my takeaway, was just like getting that construction, that solid three-dimensional thinking. Yeah. But yeah, no, he definitely has an extreme style. Is Ray still at Art Center? Have you seen him lately? You teach there, don't you, Daniel? Oh, no? Okay. Sorry. They let him go rather unceremoniously? That was not at all related to any Me Too movement, was it? Because that was my concern. Marko Djurdovic swears by Hogarth. Yeah, his teaching's good. It's one of those things where the process is the most important thing. Just like how I try to teach, it's more about the process and understanding the logic of it. That's what I'm really concerned with conveying. And I think Bern Hogarth's pretty good at that. You should teach, Daniel. You'd be an awesome teacher. Dasha made the front page. No shit. Welcome, Dune Tiger. I haven't made the front page on DeviantArt in a decade, something like that. That's amazing. I think the important thing is that you got his last name right, Marko Djurdovic. Djurdovic or Djurdovic? I think it's Djurdovic. Ah, yeah. I hear that. Like, yeah, if it's super inconvenient. I had a teaching schedule when I was in LA that was pretty ridiculous, that had me driving all over the damn place, and I got really tired of it real fast. I remember I had a class in Pasadena, a class in Culver City. No, not Culver City, in El Segundo, and then occasionally another class in Pasadena, and then stuff online. Oh god, it was such a slog. Driving all over. What's funny is that's like only 12 miles apart, but LA just makes it super crappy. It's just a shit drive. I don't want to get too crazy with this hand. I just want to make sure that the light is correct. I'm going to try and sergeant it a little bit and just do things in a couple strokes. It's already over-rendered in my opinion. Let's take a look at our Makwaweetl. Okay. You left your wallet in El Segundo. I think there's a song in that. Such a weird place, El Segundo. I'm thinking now about the materials that I'll use for this. I think I have a good opportunity here because I have all of these darks behind to do an interesting lighting effect. Since this side of the image is pretty dead, this might be a good opportunity to put something in that's going to be visually interesting and have a little bit of payoff. I'm thinking right now some kind of obsidian or glass or jade maybe. Some jade with some little translucencies. Did it turn down too much freelance? Yeah. No, it's true. It's not financially worth it, usually. Oh shit, it really is a song. Yeah, sorry. I listen to techno. I have no excuse. Thank you, Damage. I'm definitely going to check that out because I actually have a stand that I'm using. I'll show it to you. This went with me to the boat, and it's basically just like a simple kind of elevator stand. All the rubber inside is completely disintegrated from salt air and sun and things like that. But I was using this for my laptop for a while, and then I switched to a second stand for the laptop, and now this is the thing that I rest my Intuos on, so it's at a slight angle for me. It was cheap. I think it was like $10 or something. I bought it years ago, but I liked it because it was slotted so air moves through it, and it was really light, so I could put it in my backpack when I had to go to work in a coffee shop or something like that. The Intuos does not have legs. It has little rubber sort of discs on the bottom that are just meant to keep it from sliding around, but no, it's not supported by anything. It's just flat. Okay, let's make a new layer. You know what? I'm going to do this the laziest way possible. Hold down Shift, and it just makes straight lines. I'm going to a hypersaturated color to start, because this is going to be all about the transluminosity. So I'm going to lock the pixels, lock the transparency rather. And then I can really quickly put in the glows that I want. Get it to looking jadey. What I like about going really colorful and jadey is it's going to give it kind of a lightsaber feel. You didn't notice it, but your brain did, kind of deal. So I want it to feel a little bit of rough hewn. It's got to have some irregularities, so it's not quite perfect. Too perfect can be a big problem with your illustrations, especially digitally done stuff. I'm being generous with the blades. We saw that the reference, although the reference is from a movie, so you never trust that because it's already interpreted. But the reference had them as pretty small and very deeply embedded, and we're not going to do that. I missed some stuff. I'm gonna go all the way up. Okay. Use the keyboard a lot. You like the narrow stance? Yeah. My keyboard is on an even higher stand myself. Small pad to the side of the Intuos. Oh yeah. Oh, are you using Irina? Are you using the Nostromo? Did I sell another Nostromo to somebody? Shortcut's good. Yeah. I love that I myself like the Razer Nostromo because you can program macros. Oh, nice. How many buttons does it have? That's pretty great. Perfect. Welcome, Grey Voices. Greetings. Well met, as they say, in the pub, the inn. All right. I kind of want to get that chipped glass feel. I still haven't looked up the word that I was trying to think of that is that effect. Not the effect, but what they're actually doing. There's a verb for knocking glass and obsidian and chipping off to make it sharp. I actually tried it a couple of times. Pretty fun. How they would make arrowheads, knife blades, things like that. And I know I cooed over it before, but it was a super advanced, not necessarily technology, but the tools ended up being super advanced. I mean, a lot of the sharpest blades that we have now are made with glass in similar ways. Monofilament. Spalling? I don't think so, but maybe. Okay, now that I've cut out the pieces, I'm gonna go in and refine a little bit. Actually, let's first ensure that we have some shadows. So I'm going back to the previous layer. Gonna pick a green, make it real dark, real saturated. Not dark and not saturated enough. Make a new layer instead, because I'm gonna have to erase. Excuse me. Let's double check my light source. Quick and dirty. Good enough. Little ambient occlusion. Get a little bit of my Shaun of the Dead cricket bat in there. Just a touch, and it's just meant to kind of give it some dimension so it just doesn't feel like a black hole in the image. We can do the same thing on the bottom side. This time we'll use a little bit of reflected light color. Bounce it off the ground. It's implying complexity without actually adding complexity. Again, I do everything the laziest way possible. Oh. Napping. That's the word. Thank you. Napping. That's absolutely the word I was looking for. Yes, obsidian and obsidian is used for scalpels and shit like that, and they still use this technique for sharpening it because it's a natural device and it creates a monofilament edge, which is the sharpest you can get. Yeah, reduces scarring. Yeah, it's insane. No, that's very true. Gray voices, accurate, and there were a lot of differences in regards to culture uh, and language in particular that caused all sorts of misunderstandings and it was just the worst case scenario. Like if you imagine Arrival, you remember that movie, right? Where they're trying to do the language thing and it just everything goes wrong. That's basically what happened with the Aztecs. It's a really harsh story. All right, let's see if we can get some speculos on our jade here. The speculars will be the speculars. I said it funny and now I can't stop saying it that way. Will be the thing that really kind of gets this to work in the end. Let's cool it off significantly. See if room lighting it will work. Let's commit to it and figure it out later. Yeah, from a distance that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna have to darken everything down, but I'm not fussed with it just yet. I'm putting down the sort of root information. So long as the root information is there, then I can edit it with things like hue and saturation and mess about with levels to change things. It's easier that way. It can be very spicy fun to try and put speculars on everything. Avoid the impulse if you can. All right, let's do a levels real quick. See how changing the levels here and pinching the contrast drop off changes the amount of glow going in between. So we already put the information in. Now it's just about playing with it. So undo it, redo it. See how I made them much less glowy by tightening the contrast drop off there and then lowering the overall key. I love doing that kind of thing. Once the information is there, you can crunch it quite a bit in levels and not lose too much information. Of course, organic it up a little bit so it doesn't feel like it's just striated. Doesn't take much. These are such tertiary details. And then I'm going to unlock it because when I painted it, I didn't paint them with absolute opacity. Nothing was at, or especially at the edges rather, it wasn't at full 100% opacity. So I'm going back without the lock on, and I'm going to pick that color again. And this is going to be the true specular now. And you'll see that it's much, much brighter than what I did originally. These little tertiary details, when applied thoughtfully and carefully, will make something look way more complicated than it is, which is kind of the goal. You want to indicate detail rather than paint. It's the show don't tell philosophy. I know that I reference writing a great deal when I talk about painting, and that's not by accident. I find that these things are very related. Let's warm this up a lot. Keep it green but warm. They've just decided to add a scene in the story. There needs to be a place where she gets this weapon because it is kind of unusual looking. So we're totally going to have a Conan weapon moment. That's going to be awesome. Got to be done. You just have to. I mean, I think it's by law, basically, at this point. I mean, do you guys want to go to prison over this? I know I don't. Yeah. How do you feel about that? Simple and dirty. I have some a little bit of tangency going on that I don't like. So I'm gonna go find the layer. There it is. And either. Of course you jump back, because you're just a piece of shit. Just a piece of shit, Photoshop. I'm just changing the angle of those plants so that the lines don't line up directly with the edges I just created. Am I going to add any magical elements at some point? Yes. The magic is going to be extremely... what's the word I'm looking for here? It will be very corporeal. It will not be like fancy magical elements. This is a very meat-based magic system I'm thinking about. So there will absolutely be magical elements, but they're more like spirits here and there, and then the magic itself, the effects of the magic are very much about physicality rather than sort of glowy things. So there will be glowy things. You're going to see some glowy things with some of these illustrations, but that's not going to be the point. I'm purposefully going to the meat side of this. I just like saying the word meat. Judge me. Come at me, bro. It's on. Everybody likes meat. You fucking thing. Nope, 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 nope. What's Twitch's policy on spine removal? You know, I can't say. I'm pretty sure Mortal Kombat is allowed to be streamed, so I think it's mostly just nips that are a problem here. Standard American stuff. We're super fine with ultra violence, but get a little bit of sexy sex going on, and it's a no-no. Won't somebody please think up of the children? Yeah, I hate it, Daniel. I bet that must bug you to like crazy. Really? Not even academic figure drawing? Oh shit. I believe I have done some pretty explicit stuff already then. Thankfully it was before I was affiliated, so. Really? Mods will just pop in randomly, huh? That sucks. It's such a backwards system we've got. It's so backwards. Shite. What's crazy is you can even set it up as a mature audience channel, which I believe I've done, but it's weird, the battles they pick. Yeah, you're lucky you're in Europe. I know that's a big deal there. You have 3 of them? Is one of them on your foot? Foot nipple? You can look that up. You'll thank me later. What am I doing? I'm lighting... I'm rim lighting her skirt, and it's completely blocked from that light. I am a dolt. Get off there. Eesh. That said, we should definitely have light on it. So I'm going to pretend that this light source that's hitting her belly is now our light source. I will light the other side of these wrinkles than what I was originally doing there. There's something weird about how vertical these are. I don't like it. I'm just gonna merge it down. Let's look at our ref again. Yeah. We just need a little bit of a breeziness to it, some movement. It just gives it a bit of movement. Just a little touch. They just don't have a way of drawing a line. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I get that. It is easier. It's just frustrating. Hopefully, as the channel, or not the channel, but as the site matures, they'll find a way to deal with that, because I definitely think there's a way to get broader content, especially considering that artists are kind of coming to this in droves now. That they can get broader content without, turning it into, cam girls or something like that. Although arguably, to some degree, it's already done it a little bit. I don't like any of these colors I'm painting. I'm just figuring out the wrinkles and light, and then I'm going to colorize it, I think. Go the easy route. What colors do you guys think I should do the skirt loincloth thing? Purple? Nice. That's a good idea. I like purple. I know that. I'm thinking about pigments in terms of available pigments. I think purple might be, or some equivalent. Really lush blue. I know green was a very important color for the Aztecs. And gold. They had some gamers early on that were bringing people to their channels by not wearing a lot of clothing. Yeah. Oh, Twitch did crack it down? Yeah. I think that's probably the best way to do it. You're right, Daniel. Let's see what purple looks like. I only want to hit the figure layer, so I'm going to actually put it on the group as I experiment here. Set the color. Shit, let's just grab that purple. Grab that purple. Oop, that is not sticking. Oh, that's why. Because she is not grouped on her own. Oh, wait. What the hell? There we go. Okay. What do you think? I always like purple, so I always want to lean towards purple. I'm kind of thinking the greenish, maybe. Greeny orange. What do you think of that? A nude color with green undertones. That might be the way to go. Thanks for the follow, Dune Tiger. Yeah, cooler might be the way to go. And something that plays off the red. I'm still thinking about the blood. Like, she's gonna pretty regularly be splattered in blood. Maybe not so colorful. Cheers. be a desaturated purple. Yeah, let's go with that for now. And, well, no, it's not standing out against that background. Need to unify these values back here because they're a little too chunky and separated. It didn't work when I was painting just the tree, but I need it to work relative to her. That's the most important thing right now. I will knock back the tree significantly where it is competing, and it is not helping me because this is an illustration. It's my illustration. I make the rules. Aha! I'm going to do the opposite over here. Maybe even darker still. This is just some glazing, pushing and pulling with value to create depth. Depth. That's my special move. Alright, so we liked that. Oh, now you're too much. Go away. Nope. Changed my mind again. Blue into purple. Oh, the Z-bolt thing. So I haven't finished actually working on that. Your Z-bolt is, it's the channel points. So, or Z-bolt as you'd call it. The channel points will be, I haven't worked out what to purchase with those yet, but essentially they're sort of like little reward points for longer watching. And I need to build a tiered system of rewards so you can buy things. I was talking with Thug about it. He was saying things like maybe I should do a reward points for like to name a layer or to do something like that, which would be kind of fun. So it's just interactive, a way to interact using sort of a watch. Izzy will say meat for 3 minutes. That will be a very expensive one. 30,000 Z points. Well, think about it. Actually, if you guys want to contribute, I totally welcome ideas. What do you think would be fun to do? Could choose colors, or maybe, for really high ones, yeah, change colors. For really high ones, we could pick the next illustration, something like that. Also, hi Thug, welcome. I was just talking about you, buddy. Now that I'm here, client changes. Yeah, that might be a good one. Yeah, we were thinking what would be interesting is to set it up to show you to show you all kind of what it's like to work with an art director. So we'd do kind of a goofy art director image, and then when you pay or combine to pay, you can make an art direction decision that totally bamfs what I'm working on. And I'll show you how you work around that, because it's something you're going to run into for sure as a professional artist in time. Thought it might be a good learning tool. Also funny, because you'll just piss me off so much. Hide initial somewhere. That's pretty good. I like that. That's actually a really good idea. Make it more dynamic. Yes, like that, but not like that. Oh, yeah. No, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. Thanks for that. Let me open that in my phone. Where's the chat? Eh. All right. I will definitely have to pick that up. You get to roll the art director dice. That's a great idea. It's gonna be super expensive, like 1,000,000 Z points. You guys are monsters. You're salivating to infuriate me. I could tell. Yep. This green that I've created is way greener than the other jade I've done, I realize. So I'm going to knock it back just a tad. Dull it out. I'm adding just a touch of reddishness. It's a yellow here, actually, but it looks red to me in terms of how it's behaving with the green. They have a version 2 already? Man, it must be a damn popular dice set. Is it dice or cards? No, it's a D20, yeah. I've also seen people do live crits for 5 to 10k. That's not a bad idea. We could definitely do a crit day. I already do one once a month anyway, so maybe 2 crit days a month. Yeah, that would be a good way to get let the non-patrons have a little taste of that level of interaction. It's a good idea. Off to bed, Irina. Thanks for hanging out. That was fun. Well, it's daytime. That's the difference. So the light's actually coming through the window. But I'll experiment with it tonight to see if I can get the lighting properly, so we can see the beauteousness. Yeah, I know that's why you're here. So hot. Spicy. Picante, man. Ergo Josh does a live roast. Wow, that's a pretty good idea. I'll have to check out his channel. I haven't seen it at all. So now that we're rounding into the end, and I solved a lot of the big stuff that was bothering me. Now I got to really think about the little things. I know I got to finish him. I think that's good enough. We don't need to fucking work that. And the hair, that's just a little bit more on the hand, the skull and the hair, and I think we'll call this done. Well, I think we might finish this today. How far in are we? 2 hours? 2 hours? Yeah, I think we can finish this today. No, they're not specific flowers. I will go back and actually reference some proper ones, because they're not good enough right now. I know that I want something that's pale, but I want it to be local. Yeah, it might be a big deal. That might be worth checking out. And it would give people another reason to watch, aside from the beautiful thing we were just describing. I mean, that's good enough. I am beauty incarnate. Ha 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 ha. Okay. Granny Claymore versus Bloodflower? Whew. That's a tough one. I would say it's entirely dependent on either state. So Bloodflower will be maximally powerful right before birth. Before she gives birth to a god. And there's going to be a big showdown I've got planned between her and the abbess, and whatever the abbess has conjured. You'll like that. We'll get into that later. And of course that we're talking about sort of not world-ending power, but certainly volcanoes will be involved. And then Claymore, she's a badass fighter. Like, this girl's a great fighter, but Claymore would whoop her ass, toe to toe, no question. But where Claymore, the magic of this girl would crush Claymore, because Claymore she's just a very exceptional martial artist with no magical ability whatsoever. She's a barbarian. Where her magic lies is in the sword that she has, which she never unsheathes for a very specific reason. And I think if Claymore unsheathed the sword, that would be sufficient to take down Bloodflower and maybe even the god. The god child. It's a very nasty sword. It is not a good sword. I miss Claymore. I'm gonna have to go back to her and finish that story. Maybe that'll be the next one I do after Bloodflower. I really enjoyed the I really enjoyed the world building that I was doing on Claymore. And I didn't even get to any of it yet. It was even with all the stories that I'd written already and recorded audio for. I never really got to do the world building that I had in my head and in my notes. So that is definitely some untapped juice. You like that she'd be the most powerful at the phase? Oh yeah. Well, it's a world where blood magic is essential. So to me, it just made sense that would be her moment. There's a chancla inside the scabbard. Yes. There's absolutely some chanclas involved. Is that a peyote bud in the skull's eye? Yes, it is. Good catch. Well done. Seven Skull is going to be a spirit that lives in the cornfield. He'll be in a cornfield that Bloodflower passes through during her escape. She's going to run when she's the very beginning of the story. I'm going to very heavily establish that the abbess and the nunnery they frown heavily on sex and childbirth and things like that, because it's like chaotic magic, right? They like the control. So when she's visited by a literal god that impregnates her, of course she goes with it. She's attracted to the god, whatever reasons we cover here. And she's faced with the fact that she's going to have to take this very quickly and unnaturally growing belly to the abbess. There's going to be an uncomfortable conversation where she knows that she's pregnant, but the abbess doesn't. And then she has to make a decision. So she makes flight in the middle of the night. And then the abbess gives chase. After that, she's gonna... I wanted to do some pretty good fun and game stuff, just exploring the world and things, as she is an orphan that's been taken to this nunnery, so she hasn't really seen the world. So she's gonna see some stuff, and she's gonna travel while she's on the run. And she'll happen upon a cornfield where there's a spirit that lurks in that cornfield, and that is Seven Skull. Seven Skull is a reference to some characters in the Popol Vuh that were transformed into corn stalks after they died. So he will be this sort of undead corn spirit creature that talks to her and explains in some ways. He's going to be sort of her mentor, trickster character that will help explain the world that she's now part of, the spiritual world, which she didn't intend to be part of. She was just being a naughty teen. But actions have consequences, as they say. "72 images. I don't know what the word limit will be, but it's going to be, so the total book will be 144 pages, give or take. So I wanted to set it up. I don't have my my Tales from the Loop or my Electric State right here, but basically it's going to be, when you open it, an image per page and some text, or a double page spread of an image. So that's why I say give or take. But I don't know what that'll break down to in words yet. I know that it won't be novel length at all. It'll be very manageable. Most of the stuff that I've written has been in the, I think all the Granny Claymore stuff was 5,000 to 10,000 word limits for me, and then so I think this will probably be maybe double or triple that. It won't be that big. It's not like I wrote a manuscript for a novel that remains unfinished, but I got to 85,000 words with that one. So I got to go back and finish that one at some point. I have so many projects to do. But yeah, that was novel length. So this is not going to be novel length. It's going to be more like it'll probably be more like Maggot. Actually, I don't remember the exact numbers for Maggot, but it was up there. I just thought of a funny gag that I'm going to be using a lot in this. I think it would be funny if Seven Skull really, really misses the taste of mezcal, tequila. So he's going to constantly be asking, and she'll try and pour tequila in his gullet. And since he has no gullet or tongue, that would be a funny gag to use. Regular. Is cacao going to factor into the story? Yes. Yes, it will. Bare minimum, it will be referenced because it's an important food stuff in general. But yeah, God damn it, I will definitely have it involved. Excuse me, goddamn. There's going to be a lot of things. Like, these are great questions you're asking because there's going to be a lot of things that I want to include that I don't want to beat people over the head with in terms of world building. I just want it to be, which I think is the most effective world building. Not having to explain everything and depending on the intelligence of the reader. I think magic and any of the magical stuff that I'm going to include, relating to the underworld, Shibalba, or whatever my equivalent is, will be probably purple pinky because I like it. We'll see. It's too early to really make decisions like that, but just little notes that I give myself in paintings and artwork. And now that I have you all here too, you can remind me because for as many ideas as I have, I am very forgetful. Okay. Let's finish this corn. There's jade. I haven't even used that up here. Just double checking my time. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a shame. Well, I mean, there is an alternative that would be what I'd really like that I think would be awesome is to stream more. It would be great if I could stream every day and maybe, just make a thing of it. But that's so dependent on the support. There's very few people that can pull that off. I'll aim for it. It'd be great to do like maybe even 2 streams a day. Because if I'm able to work on these projects and it becomes the day job, then I would be on a lot more because I'm working on the project itself, right? Goals. We'll get there. We'll get there, team. We can do this. Just gotta work slow. Be consistent. Tell good stories. Words to live by. Yeah. Thug, are you still on? Actually, you could probably answer the questions, Gray. What time? So if it's 2 for the 5 p.m. starts, what time is 12 here? When I started today, what time was it for you? I ask because I'm awesome at math. Like, really good. $9 p.m. Oh, shit, yeah. Okay, so I would have to start at probably like 8 in the morning or something like that to get a UK, European show on the regular. It's not happening. It's 11 right now? Oh, I see. 11 if... Okay, gotcha. Need to definitely change some of the coloring of this corn, so... Make a new layer. That on top. Set it to color first, genius. Actually, let's do multiply. $12 is doable. Okay, that's good to know. It definitely should have some reds in it. That's a must. I agree. What I'm after is to get that feeling of, like, if you've seen jeweled corn, look up pictures of jeweled corn and be prepared to be blown away. It's gorgeous. Who would have thought that corn could be so beautiful? But that's what I'm thinking of, is jeweled corn. Of course, that's a hybrid that's been bred, and what we're working with is ancient stuff, which should, even this corn is way too big. Like, ancient corn is like this, it's a couple of inches. Yeah, it looks like beads, huh? It's really beautiful stuff. And the colors are just intense. I'm now just kind of taking that multiply layer everywhere. And glazing. Can't glaze where there's no pixels, so those are very transparent pixels I have there. These flowers definitely need reference. I hate them now. Now that I'm looking at them compared to the rest of the image that's much more refined, they look like dog shit. Hey, truth hurts. Save, because my screen is flickering. Heat seems to be okay. I think. I'm knocking the leg down because I didn't want the contrast. This is one of the things I really like about glazing at the end, is you can really make some monster decisions without ruining anything. Since I'm using the multiply pair layer as a opaque paint here, just because I didn't feel like making another one, I just started detailing as is with the blood. I had to be careful, because if I let it overlap too much, See how it changes the value of the blood, and I don't want that to happen just yet. A lot of blood in the last couple of paintings, huh? Gotta think about blood splatters like we learned from Dexter way back in the day. Okay, I think we're ready for hair now. We'll hold off on the flowers till I get reference, and then we'll just call it done until then. So let's do this hair. A clump first, thinking about the bigger shapes. Oops, god damn it. This is going to be a great opportunity right there on that shoulder for me to do some epic bloom effects, which will happen. Probably last. That'll be the last strokes I make right there. If I can hold off on the impulse. I really like this pony thing going on where it's just like everywhere. It's very teased out. Lots of cool flyaways and effects like that. This brush and what I'm doing right now isn't really about the flyaways though so much. And I'm not digging how it's doing the, it's like more about opacity. That's not the goal. And it's not going to look as good as me using a harsh opaque brush to do the main flyaways, like the little tertiary details and things. Okay, now let's go to another brush. One of my favorites for flyaways. This guy. You may have noticed it's used before. This hairstyle is the best hairstyle. Again, fight me, bro. It is super awesome. So many times in my life I have wished for straight hair so I could do things like this. Not in the cards for old Izzy. I would love to wear my hair like that. It is 100% justice. It's got to be wild on Bloodflower. Any of those strokes left over from the bigger brush, I'm trying to end in this brush. I think I'm gonna have to thin it out a little bit, which is fine. It's a little too thick and luscious. I need it to feel a little more ratty. So I'm gonna carve into it just like I do with the trees. Try and keep sort of mark and stroke rhythm that matches. But this time we're painting the interiors and the negative shapes rather than the positive ones of the hair itself. And just like the leaves, we're going to go back in and do overlap again. Because if you just carve out the holes, it's not going to feel right. The holes will feel painted on instead of being actual just little holes and little negative spaces in the hair. It definitely got too chunky with it. It's all right. Okay, new layer. Now let's undo what I just did a little bit. A lot of back and forth and overlap. Because I learned portrait painting from sort of more glamour style approach, like that method, a lot of the techniques that I use are designed to make things look more luxurious and pretty and beautify. So in some ways I'm having to work against that natural impulse I've got to beautify and make the hair luscious, and instead focus on a more ratty pattern, which is ideal for what we're after here. Switch brushes again. Okay, let's get some good wildness going on. Let's kill some of this back here. I just want to kill some of the repetition. Okay. With that over the top layer, we're going to do a little bit of color variation. Just little hints of ruddy. Nah, that's too much. A little too much there. Ease it up, cowboys. Just create visual interest. Sometimes flyaways need to pick up a little glint of light to make it feel right. Alright, let's add that bloom that we were talking about. New layer. Shit, I was painting in the under layer, that's why that wasn't showing. Get rid of some of that green. Warm it the hell up. Alright, I'll leave that as is. Give it one more quick once over. Get rid of all photos. How's our girl looking? I need to get just a touch of pop in some of this hair. Hit it, but not everywhere. Not at all where I originally planned for this character to go, but I could go with that. That's pretty cool. Save it one more time. Black and white. Yeah, so the flower I'm gonna have to separate the hair from the tree just a little bit more. I wasn't expecting to be that detailed with the hair originally. I was thinking it would be more chunky and dreaded, so it would have stood out more against that background value. But so I'm gonna push back the tree, get some flower references, and then we're done with this one. I'll post it. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed hanging out and painting today. Maybe you got a little bit of painting done yourself. Hopefully it was educational on some level. We had a good chat, lots of people talking. If you were just hanging out, kick me a follow, subs, all that good stuff. And I will figure out the Z point thing soon. So thanks for the recommendations there. Meat. Truly. I'll have to make a meat emoji for you guys. Awesome. All right, gang. Well, thanks very much for hanging out. As always, paint smart, paint sexy. I'm Izzy, a professional writer, concept artist, and illustrator. I've taught painting for a dozen years or so, on and offline. Many of your favorite illustrators and designers have studied with me or under me and have gone on to teach in their own right. You're here because, like they did, you want to learn to paint realistically for illustration or concept art. Well, worry not. You're in the right place. Grab a seat. I want you to join me as I explain all the aspects of image making in extremely digestible and clear monthly lessons. Not through the lens of silly how to paint hair or eye demos. That shit is carnival tricks. And you're not really learning anything except an exact way to render one thing in one manner. This is painting mysticism at its worst. Watching these kinds of exploitative lessons won't help you level up with your understanding. Sure, now you can paint sparkly hair, but what if you want to paint a dragon, or figure out how to render a sea of fire, or depict a one-eyed transgender space marine dying in the vacuum of space? Painting and image making are tools of communication, and can be learned by anyone willing to put in some time. Like grammar is for language, light, color, and form literally follow a formula. Painting well is not a matter of chicken bones, zombie crackers, and the ever-dismissive concept of talent. Learning with my series, Izzy's Logic of Light and Color, will give you the tools and understanding so you can analyze light and form in reality and bring it to life in your work. Using this simple system I have distilled will help you harness your art to share your ideas as you've always intended. When we are children, we all draw in symbols. Symbols for our house, our hands, the sun, the grass, our pet lobster. As we grow into artists, we must learn to throw away symbols and begin to draw and paint what it is we actually see. And as we grow further, we learn to paint beyond what we see and what is actually there. Until finally we move beyond this and learn to trim away what is actually there so we voice only what we want. With me, you're going to have to buckle in and maybe take some pain meds, because I'm going to rip out your normal person's eyes and replace them with a painter's eyes. I'm going to restructure how you see and how you understand what you're seeing. I'm going to turn you into a painting machine. Truly, anyone can learn to paint realistically if they can both determine what they're seeing or imagining with basic and straightforward rules. Once you understand the mechanics of light, color, and form in reality, you will have the capacity to paint anything you can see or imagine realistically. After that, the real fun begins. Here are some of the ways you can join me and master the logic of light and color. The very first lesson of my series is totally free on my YouTube channel. In that lesson, I give you the 3 primary rules of light that are the very foundation of painting and understanding light itself. If you do nothing else to make your painting mastery easier, at least watch this amazing little lesson. It will do more for your basic understanding of light than just about any tutorial you can find. When you're ready to get deeper and you feel like you have those first rules figured out, allow me to utterly blow your mind with the next episodes available on Gumroad and ArtStation. As we go deeper into the rules underlying the logic of light and color, I carefully and simply explain important and interesting elements.
From beginner to pro, there is an amazing amount of information available. Each concept has been distilled into the clearest explanation you're likely to find anywhere. Like episode 2, where we cover the atmospheric effect and how that relates to light, scale, and distance of objects in reality, and how to render it. Or episode 3, where I hand over the ultimate key to controlling value in your paintings. Episodes 5 through 8 are all about rendering materials. Want to understand the logic behind rendering metal, leather, hair, transparency, damn near anything. I even cover the logic behind painting special effects like fire, neon, or lightsabers in later episodes. The lessons just get deeper and more detailed as I build on the foundations covered in preceding episodes. The 10th gives you the most important rule of composition you'll ever learn to keep your images interesting. The next few episodes cover important painting techniques like my edge control ninjutsu or simplification with the large to small system. We dip a toe in color theory, devote a few episodes to finishing full-blown illustrations utilizing the techniques we've learned so far. Some episodes, like the lighting game or Advanced Exercises 1, the shirt, present cheap, valuable, and practical exercises to give you explosive growth in your development. Episodes 22 through 25 cover painting and illustration, just like I do for Magic the Gathering, from assignment and inception to signing the painting at the end. Each one is full of tips, knowledge, everything to make working as an illustrator easier. Did you enjoy learning how to paint basic materials? Metal, wood, and such? I got 3 whole episodes devoted to the intricate logic behind painting different kinds of skin. After that, more lessons devoted to pumping life into your portraits and original methods for accurately drawing faces out of your head. From fundamentals to photo bashing, Gumroad and ArtStation have every lesson I create available for purchase a la carte. But here's an even better way to learn with me. Stay current with my latest lessons on Patreon for the lowest price available. Monthly support gets my student that month's lesson, a critique or paint over of their finished work, a discount code for 25% off the entire Gumroad archive, and access to the Logic of Light and Color Discord community, where we plan future lessons, share knowledge, and learn together as a team. The absolute best method is to join my Patreon classroom at the Student Plus tier, where you'll get everything I just mentioned and a free episode from the archive every month to accelerate your mastery at your own pace. You've decided to take control of your painting and master Izzy's logic of light and color. Now it's up to you to choose the path that's best for you. I'll see you on the flip side. Paint smart, paint sexy.